Hey there, Jimmy the K with another episode of the Jimmy the K Sports Show. I'm so glad that you come to join us this Saturday evening. We've got a plethora of sports news, lots of things to cover, short time to cover them in, and we're just going to get cranking off right now. Let's start off with Ranger stuff. Dan Anthony and I have had a tiff for the last couple days on ESPN Dallas, but apparently he and I do agree on some things. The Rangers could get better once they get healthy, which I've been trying to tell him that for the last week and a half or so, but some people listen, some people don't. But it's nice to see people coming to the other side of the equation rather than just staying on their side of the fence, knowing that these Texas Rangers can and possibly will turn up the heat going into May, June, July, and even the heat of the summer. You know, this is the question that I bring up to him and to you as a fan. You know, you look at the last couple of years when we didn't make it far. 2 years ago, technically we did make the playoffs. We lost that one-game playoff. Last year we didn't. Technically, in my opinion, we did. But you look at those April, May, June, you look at that first half of last year, those numbers were extremely well. Those were numbers that we played quite well in, and then when it came to the second half of the season, we started spiraling downwards. You know, what would we much rather have? A team that is playing well in April and May and then collapse the last week of the season? Or would we like a team that doesn't have so well of an April, May, and possibly even halfway through June, but yet we get Holland, Profar, Soto. You know, we get those guys back that we were expecting to be our prime pieces going into the season, and this team turns itself over. You know, what would you much rather have? In my opinion, I'd much rather have it where we start off slow, but we end strong. I've always felt that way. You know, you can't win every game of a 162 game season. Period. End of discussion. It's just not going to happen. You know, the closest thing to undefeated we've ever seen in the major leagues is the Yankees. You know, when they had years where they were 126 and 36. You know, so that's the closest you're ever going to see to an undefeated season. I'd much rather start off slow and strong. There is one player on the Rangers, though, that I have been giving the benefit of the doubt for the whole month of April, but I think it's time that we cut ties with him. Absolutely. I think I've stepped over to the dark side because as of last night, as of the last time that I last saw his batting average, it was like a measly 0.7 or 0.079. That's an ugly batting average. He was not playing tonight as of May 3rd. It was Robinson Chirinos playing at catcher. So with that being said, you know, do the Rangers get rid of JP Arencibia? Or Arencibia, or however you pronounce it, and eat that cost? Or do they attempt to trade him for, like I say, a lower tier prospect? You know, so many people want to wait for Moreland to be that prime trade piece. Okay, I can agree with that to some certain extent, but, you know, we've got to do something about JP Arencibia right now. You know, his batting average is spiraling so far down right now that he's just not going to get out of that slump. You know, it's one of those slumps that when you're batting that bad, you're going to need a whole month or two to recoup from that. You know, What do I attribute it to? Do I attribute it to him being a bad player? I don't know. Do I attribute it to his hitting coach? Quite possibly. Do I attribute it to Ron Washington? Of course not. Yes, I drink the Rangers Kool-Aid, as some of you say on the ESPN sites. I do drink that Rangers Kool-Aid. I have a positive outlook on this team. And I will have a positive outlook on this team until, like I say, the fat lady sings. And she ain't sung yet. So, until then, I'm going to continue to drink that Rangers Kool-Aid, Ron Washington Kool-Aid, or whatever you want to call it. But I will agree with you in the fact that J. Pierre Ancibia needs to go. I don't care how it's done, but it needs to be done. His batting average is just spiraling so low that, it's going to take a month or two to even recover from his batting average right now. What are your thoughts on J. Pierre Ancibia? What would you trade for him? We got viewers out there. What would you trade for J. Pierre Ancibia? Would you trade him and Mitch Moreland for a AAA catcher that could possibly come in and back up Robinson Chirinos? Because Robinson Chirinos right now, I hate to admit it, is our starter. He is our starter. He's got these guys lights out making things happen. So you have to go with Robinson Chirinos right now. Now, when Giovanni Soto comes back, Robinson Chirinos, in my opinion, is your backup. No matter who you trade for, Robinson Chirinos is your backup. What are your thoughts on this? The ways to get in touch with me. Shoot me a chat over here. I definitely want to hear your opinions. Do you think we should trade J. Pierre Ancibia? Do you think we should cut ties with him and his contract? Or do you think there's a player on the waiver wire right now, or possibly will be on the waiver wire catcher-wise, that we can possibly go after at some certain point for the Texas Rangers? That's that part of the Texas Rangers. I want to know also, I'm going to do something similar to what ESPN Dallas did. Not trying to steal their thunder, but I'm going to do something similar to ESPN Dallas's deal. I want your predictions for the Rangers month of May. I will personally give a shout out to each and every one of the people who get the closest record for that month of May on the show. And if you're ever in my neck of the woods, or I can come over to your house and we can hook up this nice little webcam, I'll do a show alongside of you, but I can't promise that. I will at least give you a shout out. So let's do that. My prediction, and it has been, for the month of May is 18-10. I really do think that the Rangers will turn this around. Yesterday they turned it around. Their offensive bats come alive. Rios and Chu have been the offensive glue to hold this team together. And I have to call some of these guys out in a way, because for the longest time they were saying they'd much rather have Ian Kinsler over Shin-Soo Choo. Personally, I wouldn't. I don't see Kinsler having another 30-30 year in Co-America Park in Detroit at all. I don't see it happening. Do I see Chu having a 30-30 year? Probably not. But what the Rangers acquired Shin-Soo for is for his on-base percentage and for his plate discipline, getting on base. The guys to follow, Elvis Andrus, Prince Fielder, Adrian Beltre, Alex Rios, those guys were the guys that are supposed to bring them home. And once their bats get alive, or their bats come alive, I seriously do think that this Texas Ranger team becomes a force to reckon with. Our biggest problem right now is the injuries. So, with that being said, I've got a prediction of 18-10 through the month of May. What is your prediction? Leave it on my Facebook message. Leave it on the All About Sports Zone site. anybody that gets, whoever gets the closest records for the month of May, I will give you a personal shout out here on the show. Personal shout out. And like I said, I can't grant any promises, but if you're ever in the neck of the woods of mine or I'm at yours and have the webcam, then maybe you too can be a part of the show. But I can't make promises there. I can give you a personal shout out for your good record of the month of May. Mine is 18-10. What is yours? There's a lot of other sports news. As of today, May 3rd, the Oakland Athletics lost their second game to the Boston Red Sox, the defending world champion Boston Red Sox, I might add. I'm not a big fan of the Boston Red Sox. Do I think that they could very well repeat what they did last year? Yes, I really do. I really do think that they have the team to repeat what they did last year. I believe Lester was the pitcher today. 15 strikeouts. 1 hit for the Oakland Athletics. Their second loss in Boston. So Boston right now looks, in my opinion, even though the Rangers have supposedly the second best record in the major leagues, Boston right now looks like that team to beat in the American League. But that's as of right now. I can't tell you, come June, July, August, they may have people on the DL that have them out of that. But as of right now, Boston looks lights out. Let's look at a couple other sports stories. The other sports stories I want to look at is the fact that there were they're going to be 5 Game 7s in the NBA playoffs. 5 Game 7s. You had Atlanta and Indiana. Indiana winning 92-80. And remember, Indiana did not look very good in that series. But they did come back to win that series. They, believe it or not, going in to the playoffs, looked like the favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals. Because of the fact that LeBron James was carrying the Heat. But now the Heat look like, since the playoffs have started, that they're stepping it up a notch. So very well could be that the Miami Heat are the Eastern champions again. We don't know, but the Indiana Pacers beat the Atlanta Hawks, and that was surprising considering that Atlanta looked to be a force to be reckoned with that whole series of the playoffs. The other game on right now is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies. And with 2 minutes, as of right now, this is real-time scoring. As of right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder, with 2 minutes and 2 seconds left in the third quarter, had a 92-76 lead. So, do the Thunder pull out the Game 7? Game 7s typically go to the home field. Home field gets that advantage about 80 to 85% of the time. The home team wins. So, with that being said, do the Thunder pull this one out? We'll have to find out, wait and see. But Mr. Unreliable, as the Oklahoman come out with, is Mr. Undeniable right now. He's not being denied at all. So we're looking real time at that score, 94-78 right now with 58 seconds left to go in the third quarter for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's go on over and look at a few other sports stories while we can, and we'll get back to the Oklahoma City Thunder at the appropriate time at the end of the show for you as fans of this show. I try giving you everything. Not everything, because that would be impossible in a 30-minute show. But I try giving you as much information that I can as a sports host for you. Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks forced the Game 7. Do I personally think the Dallas Mavericks can beat the Spurs in Game 6? Personally, I think the Mavericks could beat them. Do I think they'll beat them? Probably not. I think that it could very well go down to a Thunder Spurs Western Conference Finals again this year. But because of the youth of the Oklahoma City Thunder, because of Kevin Durant and the way he's been playing lights out, I see them going to the NBA Finals. And remember, I stated that a couple of weeks ago here on the Jimmy the K Sports Show. So, with that being said, do the Thunder can the Mavericks beat the Spurs? I think they can. Will they beat the Spurs? I don't know. The truth of the matter is the Spurs are probably one of the best, if not the best teams in the NBA in the last decade and a half. So they're going to be one of those teams that's going to be a force to reckon with no matter how far other teams get in the playoffs. But you've got to be proud of the Dallas Mavericks, even if they lose in the first round. But the big question is, if they lose in the first round, what does Mark Cuban do to better this club, to put them back in the NBA Finals again and hoisting another trophy? That's the big question. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think the Mavericks pull out Game 7? Do you think the Spurs pull out Game 7? That's my question to you as a fan. Also, I want to take a short little time right now. I know there are probably people that are watching this overseas. Some military personnel, people that are giving me the freedom to do this show, people that are giving athletes the freedom to play the game free, but they're making the sacrifices to be away from their families. I want to thank those military and law enforcement people that do what they do. I'm not going to lie. I think in all the shows, I've never once thanked y'all. And it's not because I'm not thankful for you. Every time at night, I say a prayer for each and every one of you, that each and every one of you will come home and return home to your family safely. Because you are the people who give us the right and the freedoms to do what we do. And I want to thank you personally and give a shout out to those in my family, those that are my friends watching this show, for what you do. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your loyalty to your country. And thank you for giving me the freedom to do what I do without somebody coming in and telling me, no, you can't do this. You can only have political views on this show. Thank you so much for what you do. I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm praying for you. Godspeed. And may God bless you and your families each and every time that you have to go over there and fight for my freedoms, fight for athletes' freedoms, fight for my children's freedoms. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you. With that being said, I'm going to close this show tonight with a final look at the Oklahoma City Thunder's score as of right now. At the end of the show, 94-81 at the end of third quarter. I'll come back on to the All About Sports Zone Facebook page and update with the score at the end of the game. But as of right now, the end of the third quarter, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 1 quarter away from moving on in the NBA playoffs. Until next week, 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I'm Jimmy the K. Remember, 3 easy ways you can get in touch with us. Like us on Facebook, All About Sports Zone, all one word. Like us on Twitter at JimmyKersey1. Or remember, you can email us, allaboutsportszone@gmail.com with your questions, concerns, or comments. Or if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, Just send me a message with your questions or concerns about the show. Until next week, I'm Jimmy the K. Peace out.